If you've been keeping tabs on the channel, you'll know that I'm quite a fan of the Lexus GX. We took a look at it last year just out of Baltimore near my house, but today Toyota and Lexus have been gracious enough to fly me out here and not only look at this new GX, but a bunch of their other products as well. You could probably also make an educated guess that I quite like the Land Cruiser, because I do, and it's very exciting to see a new Land Cruiser in its new skin. I don't know what you think, but by the end of this video, I'll give you all my first impressions on both the Land Cruiser and the GX, and we will be talking about which one is my favorite. I already think I know which one. So this GX in particular may look pretty similar to the one that we saw last year. This one is a 2024 GX 550 Overtrail in atomic silver. Again, it's a very nice looking color on Lexus's because it really accentuates the body lines. And you can see this is an all new GX, a huge departure from the GX 460, but I quite like the look. It uses the more modern Lexus front end with their new spindle design grille, full LED headlights as standard equipment. You can also see this one has fog lights and cornering lights. Also, it has headlight washers. Let me know what you think about this new face. The MSRP of this GX 550 as it sits right next to me is just about $71,620. Pretty expensive, and it's actually pretty similar to its Land Cruiser sibling, but we will talk about some of the differences as we go on the drive. And this Land Cruiser next to me is a 2024 Land Cruiser First Edition in a new color for 24, Trail Dust. It's a very nice looking color. I like that it's darker than the sand color that you could find on the TRD Pros of yesteryear. I also gotta say, I really like the look of the Land Cruiser. In pictures, I wasn't that crazy about it. I kind of like the GX more, but I think it's the opposite now. I like this face. You could get two different faces on your Land Cruiser as well. You could get this base face, kind of because it's a little bit more simple. 1958 edition, the more heritage editions of the Land Cruiser, and you could get upper trims of the Land Cruiser that give it a different front end with different rectangular headlights. I actually like the round headlights quite a bit. They are plastic, just so you know, but they're full LED with LED turn signals and LED fog lights as well. It's kitted out in this. I also like the heritage style Toyota grille that you get. It's a really nice looking package, dare I say, better looking than the GX. To me, Toyota and Lexus have put the GX and Land Cruiser in an interesting predicament because they cost almost the same price. So I guess it really depends on personal preference, because the MSRP of this Land Cruiser as it sits right next to me is about $75,000, and it starts around the high 50s as well. So it's shockingly close to see the differences between this and the GX. And if you're wondering about the new 4Runner, this is a little bit larger than the 4Runner. I am very excited to see that 4Runner, but you have to subscribe to make sure you see that in the future, just like the full review of this and the GX as well. Of course, you can choose many trim levels for the GX, like the Premium, Premium Plus, Overtrail, Overtrail Plus, and the Luxury and Luxury Plus. We'll go into the trim levels when we have this at home, but this one is the Overtrail. So it lacks a few of the high-class features that you can get on the Overtrail Plus, like the upgraded seats and a pano moonroof, but this one does have a few really cool options, like the cool box, the two-tone paint, because normally these just come in one color, but you could get a black roof on the Overtrail. And keep in mind, the GX is the more luxurious of the two between the Land Cruiser and this. That's how it's always been. Because it's the Overtrail, the suspension has been modified for better articulation off-road. You also get a locking rear differential standard on the Overtrail with 33-inch tires. These are Toyo open countries, and it looks like you could fit a 35-inch tire pretty easily on this GX. For those that don't know, the Land Cruiser nameplate has been around way before Lexus and way before the GX. If you want to learn more about the history of the Land Cruiser, you can click up here. But Toyota canceled the 200 series Land Cruiser after the 2022 model year, and for 2 years we didn't have a Land Cruiser until this. And overseas, this is known as the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. So this is the first time that we've actually gotten the Prado in the States. So it's actually very cool. We don't get the diesel engines, but the engine under the hood of this is interesting, and it is different from the GX. Toyota has stayed pretty simple in terms of trim levels for the Land Cruiser. You could either choose between the base 1958 edition that starts at about $55,000, or you could choose the normal Land Cruiser that has the upgraded face and more technology inside for about $61,000. And then you could choose this one, the first edition, for about $57,000. And that's when it really becomes similar to the new GX. But I'm not sure how long they'll keep this trim level around for. I am assuming though this should hopefully be more expensive than the upcoming 4Runner to make that more competitive as well. As we know, a big controversy that's going on right now, not just with the GX, but pretty much all of Toyota's trucks, is the shrinkage of all the engines. We don't have the 4.6 in the GX anymore, and you don't get the 5.7 in anything anymore. It's a V6 twin turbo in this one, and it has been the talk of the town. But it is a pretty impressive engine in terms of power and response, but it isn't quite like the V8. You'll also see in some other aspects, it unfortunately is. Under the hood of this is the new 3.4 liter twin turbocharged and of course direct injected V6 from Toyota and Lexus. A rendition of this was first introduced in the current LS500, but now you'll see this engine in the Sequoia, the Tundra, and also, of course, the GX like this one. In its current situation, the GX is not available as a hybrid, so that makes this engine the troublemaker of the group. It is a vast improvement from the GX 460 though, because power output for this engine is 349 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque, and the torque comes in at 2,000 RPM. But in terms of MPGs, Lexus claims 15 in the city, 21 on the highway, and a combined rating of 17. Those numbers are only a little bit better than the V8 in the 460, and in real-life applications, I've been seeing between 15 and 16. Hopefully the hybrid will be a little bit more efficient. It isn't a big concern to me though, because that's kind of what I would expect from a big SUV like this. Toyota provides their pretty good 10-speed automatic transmission, which is in-house built to pair up to this 3.4 liter V6, and it uses full-time four-wheel drive, just like GXs have always used. This has a high and low range, and again, because this is the Overtrail, this has an optional locking rear differential. This is supposed to be the most factory-capable GX that you could get, because also, if you remember, the front end of the 460, especially in the later years, was just a little bit too low. So I'm glad they made a specific off-roading trim level for the GX. And of course, this will perform a little bit differently than the Land Cruiser, but not by much. This one you pay for that V6. Gone are the days of the old 5.7 or even the 4.7 in the 100 and 200 series Land Cruisers. Now we are well into the future with forced induction and electrification. It's a completely new future, and it's also pretty different from the new GX. This one does not use a twin-turbo V6, but this one uses a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, and it's paired to an electric motor that's sandwiched between the engine and the 8-speed automatic transmission. This of course uses full-time four-wheel drive with a high and low-range gearbox. This one also has an adaptive sway bar system that can release and allow more articulation, and this one also has a locking rear differential to really make it very capable off-road. But yes, this is a 4-cylinder. This is the same engine that you'll find in the new Tacoma and the upcoming 4Runner as well. It's been pretty good so far. This 2.4 pretty much replaces the old 2GR-FE, because you'll find this engine in the RX-350, the Highlander, so many modern Toyota products. In this application, it makes 326 horsepower and 426 pound-feet of torque. Very strong numbers, even compared to the V8. MPGs will also be the strong suit of this because Toyota rates this at 22 in the city, 25 on the highway, and a combined rating of 23. Those are way better than the turbo V6 in the GX. This one will be the more efficient one in its hybrid 4-cylinder trim. Of course, the added power means added size, and this GX is about 5 inches longer than its predecessor at 197 inches long, but they still kept the 112-inch wheelbase from the old 4Runners. I also would like to quickly add, I love this body line that this shares with the Land Cruiser. On the Land Cruiser side, you can see things are pretty much the same in terms of overall dimensions and size. You also get that same swoop on this one, and because this one is a first edition, it has this special roof rack on it for off-roading and camping. You can also see these 18-inch wheels in their dark finish. This one also has rock sliders that are factory on it. I also love the mirrors on this and the GX because they remind me of the old FJ Cruiser. Around back, we can acknowledge the biggest difference between the GX and the Land Cruiser. This one has the light bar with the half tail lights, while the Land Cruiser has actual full tail light units on the back end of it. I think they both look good, but you can let me know what you think in the comments below. You can also see, thankfully, Lexus has retained the pop-up rear window. It's something really useful. It's not like the 4Runner that rolls down, but it's still good. The 460 had this as well. Something the 460 does not have, a power tailgate, and it opens the normal way, not like the swing-out tailgate in the 470 and the 460. You can see trunk space is pretty solid. I still don't have the exact cargo figures for the back of this. Also keep in mind that the Overtrail trim only comes as a 2-row. The premium and luxury models come with 3rd rows as optional. Most of them you'll see with the 3rd row. But this one really does evidently have a lot more room than the previous 460. I also like that the floor is a little bit lower down than compared to the 460 as well. Makes loading and unloading a lot easier on your back. You can also see this one has the optional tonneau cover. There's also a cigarette lighter outlet back here with space for tools, for your jack, and you can see this closes with power as well. Also, before we get going, the GX550 has a towing capacity of 8,000 pounds. I just really like how this looks like the 80 series Land Cruiser. I love the square shape of the rear end. Of course, the tail lights, turn signals, and reverse lights are full LED in this one, just like the GX as well. The rear window does open up. The Land Cruiser also has a power tailgate, which is new. You can see in the back of the Land Cruiser things are different because this one has the hybrid battery pack underneath the trunk. This is more reminiscent of the GX 460 with its raised floor, but that one wasn't even a hybrid. There's still a great amount of space back here. Of course, you do lose a little bit because of the battery underneath. There's a little bit of storage right in front of the battery pack, but other than that, there's not too much. There's also a power outlet back here, which makes it very handy. Just like the GX, the Land Cruiser doesn't come standard with a 3rd row. These are 2-row SUVs by nature. I don't think that you could get the 3rd row with the hybrid. I would also expect the trunk of the GX550 hybrid, whenever that comes out, to be similar to this, with its raised floor height. Otherwise, it's a nice wide and square opening, which makes it very easy to put things in and take things out. Okay friends, so now we're driving the new Land Cruiser. I'm just gonna be heading back to Toyota HQ because I'm a little bit over my time. Thank you, Laura, for letting me film a little bit more, because I wanted to be able to talk as much as I could about both the Land Cruiser and the GX. And I know it's not a direct I'm not directly comparing them right now, but it has been a cool experience to see how both of them are, especially back to back, because I just hopped out of the GX and ran into this thing. First, we can see how this 4-cylinder is. I'll give this RX a second. Now, it's not as strong as the V6 twin turbo, that's for sure. I can already tell that. It still is strong power. It's also a big difference in the sound when you floor it, but that's just, you know, V6s and 4-cylinders have different sounds. It doesn't sound bad though. I've gotten used to how this 4-cylinder sounds in other Toyota and Lexus products. It rides just as smooth as the GX, and I'm sure these big fat tires have a lot to do with it as well. Response, pretty good. The brakes are a little bit weaker in this one, I think. The 8-speed in this is different, of course, and it's smoother. I quite like it. I'm going to choose a route that's a little bit longer so we can actually talk a little bit. But it does ride nice. It's a little, you feel a little bit more of the road in this compared to the GX, but that's not a bad thing. This thing still has a premium ride to it, and the interior is a premium as well. I kind of like that this interior is different than the GX's interior. I prefer the interior of this more, actually. Depending on the temperature and, you know, the exact situation, the car will shut its engine off as you're coming to a stop because it has that mild hybrid system. You can't just drive it in EV mode. It's more of an assist for power and efficiency, but it's still nice to have because you definitely do notice the improved MPGs of this versus that V6. I like the power of the 4-cylinder. It's still good. It feels lighter on its feet than the V6, just in terms of weight. Visibility is also pretty good. The hood is pretty much identical to the GX's hood. Those same big fins on the outside, but thankfully they're not too intrusive. This also has a 360 view camera inside to make it helpful for off-roading, just like the GX as well. You'll also see the GX's interior is of course more stylized. The screen on the center console is bigger with the latest Lexus connected services system, just like this one has the Toyota connected services system. It's good that you do wired and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but there's not a whole lot to them. I mainly have it in Apple CarPlay. The engine is quiet unless if you're really hammering down. I don't like the sound, but it's not that bad. I'd get used to it. It has an eco, normal, and sport mode. We can just see how passing is. It's a little bit more aggressive in sport. Unfortunately, I'm in traffic right now, so I can't do too much, but it's still good. This isn't a sporty SUV. This thing, I'd rather be in the wilderness than be going real fast anyway. But at highway speeds, it rides very nice. You really don't get battered and jostled like you would expect in some other body-on-frame SUVs, but older body-on-frame SUVs. New cars honestly ride pretty good, and the Land Cruiser does not disappoint as well. The steering on both of these have a nice weight to them. It is more direct than you would expect, which is nice, but again, don't expect corner carving in your GX or Land Cruiser. These are great daily drivers, especially this one because of the hybrid. The gas mileage is certainly an appeal to me. But because I forgot to talk about the GX's interior, you can see the Land Cruiser interior is much more rugged and utilitarian looking compared to its Lexus counterpart. It's nice this has pre-collision brake warning if their light is green and then no one goes in front of you. It's actually pretty quiet, and you really feel isolated from the drivetrain, just like in the GX. They did a great job. I look forward to driving this and the GX a little bit more once I get home, but again, we're in a time crunch because other people want to drive these cool vehicles as well. So welcome, my friends, to our first drive with the new Lexus GX. It really has been an interesting experience. I've only driven it for about 10 minutes while I've been looking for a spot to film, but I didn't really give it too much gas or take it around too many corners. We can see now, I guess. Wow. You know, for a GX, it's a lot better. GX's, even with the V8, haven't been that quick, and they've not even felt that quick before. They've always just provided smooth acceleration. Smooth, decent acceleration, I will say. It's not like they're slow, but GX isn't sporty at all. This thing actually rides pretty nice as well. It's very smooth. The brakes have a nice feeling. It's a lot quicker to react to everything compared to the 460. And I would say that I'd even go back to the 470. Like, listen. It's smooth. It's really good power. I would say it's better than the V8 in terms of putting its power down. The V8, of course, will do 300,000 miles. I'm not sure about this one, but... And the 10-speed shifts very nice and quickly. It's very smooth. I don't even feel the shifts. I would say they did a pretty good job with the tuning of this. Again, it rides pretty nice. On some choppy pavement, you'll feel the big heavy tires, things like that, but it's honestly not bad. I can put myself into sport mode, actually. I mean, wow, you can go into Sport S and Sport S Plus in the GX Overtrail. It's not a big deal to me. I don't need all the speed in the world, but I am curious how it makes the thing feel different. Wow, the sound is deeper. That's funny. They make it sound kind of like the V8. I know that was probably an underwhelming acceleration, but I don't want to cause too much of a ruckus. Like that. It's great power. Sport mode does stiffen up the steering a bit, and you can feel the chassis stiffen up. This also has a comfort mode as well to make it even more like the GX 460 in the sense of it just being more lazy to drive. You can hear that this one has the front cross traffic alert. Wow, a Cybertruck right there. Ugh. Passing power is great. It's a lot better than the 460 on the highway. This thing puts you in the back of your seat, actually. Again, the transmission really does shift smooth. I've been very content with that. On at least this concrete right now, the all-terrain tires are a little bit loud, but that's just how ATs are. In the 460, you can just kind of feel what the rear end is doing. It's just kind of soft. This one, it feels like they tune the suspension for all types of driving conditions, not just floating along the highway. Of course, it's not going to be a corner carver either, but it's pretty damn good. I like the overall feel of the interior, and I like how I sit in here. Even though this hood does bulge pretty high, it doesn't seem like it's too bad compared to some of the other hoods that are big out there. Like you see, it's actually pretty strong power. Very smooth power. I don't really feel turbo lag. It puts its power down like a V8, I would say. It's actually pretty refined. I'm impressed. Toyota did a pretty good job with this V6. I am curious to see longevity. We won't talk about that too much, but it's been a very good experience. I wish I could take this thing off-road today, but I'm already just very thankful to be driving the new GX finally, and I look forward to it coming to my house. Of course, not this one, but when one is in the press fleet, you will be seeing a full GX review. But I'm making it back to Toyota's headquarters. I didn't want to be out too long, but I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video with the new Land Cruiser and the new Lexus GX. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with both of them. They're putting the cars away right now. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with both of them. Again, thank you for Toyota for flying me out here. Well, Toyota and Lexus for flying me out here to take a look at their latest products for their summer refresher. And hope you enjoyed this little video with the Land Cruiser and the GX. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, peeps.